To order. John on Zoom and Jana is excused, just traveling. I expect this to be a pretty brief meeting, a single item on the agenda, several weeks back to talk daycare facility that she's proposed. And as you recall, there were some items missing from the application, and so she and Chip have been working together to put those pieces together, and we have those here. And why don't you come up and present your application and just summarize it. I think there were a couple of people that weren't here last time, so just a brief summary again would be helpful.
Sure.
And if you want to highlight the pieces that you provided.
Okay. So I am hoping to open a daycare in my home. I would have about 6 children between the ages of 2 and 5. I would be the sole owner of the business, but my mother-in-law would be my one staff. She would help cover if my children are sick or have appointments. I'm in the process of getting my license through the state. I have to get the town approval before I can put in my application, but I have everything done for my state application. Just have to check this off the box. I've gone through some of the things I was missing was the maps of my property. Chip came and did a septic inspection. There was talk of a potential fence that I would have to put up in my backyard. I don't think that there's any major like hazards in my backyard, but ultimately the state is also going to come and they're going to do their inspection, and if they decide that I need one, they have their own criteria, which I provided as well for the standards of their fencing policies. Other than that, I basically just went through all the other required submittals and replied to any of them that pertain to me, such as like traffic and parking. I have a very large driveway, which you can see in the maps that I provided. There's going to be a very large parking space off to the side of my home that I've marked out. That will be where the parents will come in and drop their kids off and be able to turn around and head back out. And then I've also marked off the potential area where I would be putting the fence if a fence was needed. And then our tiny little, I wouldn't even call it a ditch, but it's just part of the drainage in our backyard. But that's basically, I think, most of what I was missing off the top of my head.
Yeah, with regard to the fencing, read the performance standard on daycare facilities in well, it suggests that fencing may or may not be required depending on the circumstances.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing from you is you don't think that there is any hazard that would necessitate a fence, but the state will also look at that issue from the
Yep, and if they do tell me that I need one, I'll put up whatever they need me to do, essentially.
Questions?
Do you happen to have a copy of these of the state standards on fencing?
I do, it's provided in the packet. I think it's in maybe the new packet that Chip gave you.
I gave you this 4-page thing.
Yes.
I didn't find that.
It basically just states that obviously there has to be no hazards, and then if they do find that there is a hazard, that fencing should be a minimum of 48 inches high, fully enclosed, and must have at least one gate that doesn't lead to the house for fire safety.
You have to do a fence. It's also sensitive.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, the small area that I plan on having fenced in, it wouldn't be bother or close to any of my other neighbors. It was just a small little area off the back porch.
Plan on having an outdoor space for children,
Like a,
like an outdoor play area.
yeah,
I mean,
the,
it's pretty clear that that's gonna be trigger.
like
The
the,
state standard says there must be. you know,
yes, yeah,
So I would probably go on the assumption that they will. Pretty common, the other papers we have around town, they have.
I don't even know where daycare's on town.
Oh, yeah, they don't have any, well, that's a good parent. In the past, not anymore,
Let's
but
see.
there are a couple in town.
I do have an assumption that they probably will have me put
Yeah.
in some type of fencing. The designated area I plan on having the children be is out back, like, basically where that fenced-in area is. The map doesn't show it so great, but if you are on my property, it's literally a square, and that's like where we have it mowed and maintained, and my son's toys are out there. And it's just that little section close to the house.
Is there any standing water?
No.
Is there any kind of current barrier, a gate or anything that separates the backyard from the front?
No, just. We have like a dog pen that's to the left of our house, and it kind of creates this funnel. And the only way to get past that up towards the road is just this small section of the driveway.
Paula,
John,
I just had one question, and you may have already answered this, but does someone from the state come out to look at your place?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. As soon as my application is in, they'll review everything, and then they'll have a licensor come out and they'll do their whole standard inspections.
Okay, thank you.
How far north are you from the?
Basically right across from it. Like if the little bus station, I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm right across from that. Yes,
yes, there aren't trees or anything, your house is visible, your property is visible from the road.
yeah, so what you'll see when you drive by from the road is the front is wide open. You'll see the house and our little shed to the side of it. And then the whole back is not visible from the front. You have to drive all the way through and past the house to be able to see the area that I plan on having the children in.
Children. Is pretty far from the-
Yes. The map shows 500 feet, it looks like, and I would say it's in the back half of that is what I plan where they'll be. So they'll be at least 250 feet away from the road or more, give or take.
And it seems like there would be some potential for conflict if we were prescriptive about fencing requirement, state is going to likely impose something, and it does, it specifically says here, where hazardous conditions exist in the outdoor play area, the children must be protected from those conditions by fencing or other appropriate barriers. And hazardous conditions are bodies of water, active railroad tracks, sharp inclines, banks, or other areas. So I assume,
Roads.
um,
Yeah.
I agree, it should say roads.
It does.
The state did.
It's just so small.
No, I'm reading it right now. Oh, roads, okay, there it is, that's it.
Roads
Yeah, it's the
and
first,
bodies of
the
water.
first one, then bodies of water, I skipped over that.
This may be built, an example of how a site visit may help clarify for us the extent of risk.
I think you tell us we know it. If you drive out there and take your trash this year, just take a look over there, it's almost a full football field or more back. Number one, don't forget, the state's also gonna mitigate that risk, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna say. Probably need a fence here or there, and it's fully blocked. So,
Yeah, it appeared from the map that the depth of the lot is 500 feet, is that correct?
Yeah.
And the house is about halfway.
Yeah.
And then backyard is beyond the house.
Yes.
Is there a turnaround in the driveway?
Yeah, it's basically a T. So you'll be able to come in and come out and then back out and then turn around. So it's not a full circle, but yes.
Is anyone else interested in doing a site visit? Here express some interest. And we feel we have the information.
Jennifer, would you mind if you get up the driveway and just?
Absolutely not. You're more than welcome to. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now. I've got 2 children. We're in and out of the house with appointments, but if you feel like you need to come in and pull in, go ahead. You're more than welcome to.
So does that work for everyone? If you want to take a closer look, you can pull into the yard and drive by.
Is there a mailbox or a newspaper box with a number on it or something?
Yes, it's a very large black mailbox, a big 80 at the end of it. Just replaced it this year.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? So we're ready for motion.
We'll find the application. Schedule public hearing.
A second. Discussion. All those in favor? John?
Can't hear you, John.
Unmute. Are you muted?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I could not hear the motion.
Find the application complete, notify others, and schedule a public hearing.
Did you hear him, John?
No, but,
Okay.
but
John, the motion is to find the application complete, notify abutters, and schedule a public hearing. Still
I vote
not-
aye.
Give a thumbs up.
Okay, all right, I heard the aye. Great, thanks. Okay. So, this first step is to find your application complete, which we just did, and the next, I guess we can do it at the next scheduled meeting, which I believe is the 28th of October. And our process is to hold a public hearing. Oftentimes, there are no interested parties who want to speak or ask questions. And I would expect this is probably going to be a fairly simple one. But we do need to go through that process, so that will be at the next meeting, and we can talk with Chip about the schedule.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and
Yes.
thank you for pulling the information together. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Chip, for helping as well. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a set of minutes from September 23rd. The only comment I had is the same as Peter's, essentially, a wording change to that piece about greatest practical extent. So I'm good with what Peter provided. Did anyone else have comments? And if not, I take a motion.
On the application. Divide it, move to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Pat. For a second,
Second,
discussion. No, all those in favor?
Oh, if I wasn't here, I was abstaining.
Yeah, John and Henry were not.
Sorry, John wasn't here. Is that
He's
correct?
shaking his hand.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't, okay. Okay. So
Abstain.
two abstentions.
Thank you.
Okay, the only other thing I wanted to mention was that I'm going to look for a time to schedule a meeting to just focus on administrative issues. We have some things outstanding we should talk about in the group. I think it would work better if we just schedule a meeting for that purpose rather than to try to tack it onto a regular meeting with applications. We will have some draft bylaws, which I'm pretty much finished with. I have distributed the first draft yet. And there were some procedural issues that we had talked about a while back, and I'm going to follow up on those. And then the third piece that comes to my mind is that we should consider if there is anything in particular that we want to queue up for modification of the land use ordinance. I don't think we have any big issues like we did last year. We went through all the chapters last year and did some pretty major revision, and I don't think we're looking at anything like that. We may need to do something with the housing law, but I'm not certain about that yet. So.
I would encourage you to look at things that we could encourage housing with. I've had a couple of contractors called about redoing historic houses with extra rooms and everything. But I think maybe if some of these contractors had some kind of incentive, some kind of, I don't know, open up, make it easier for them to get through, they might have some housing. We've got various properties in this town sitting dormant for quite a while. I'd love to say, hey, if you do this, I know that's probably a select board thing also. So.
Well, it's, it's also, in my experience, it's one of those things that's much easier said than done. And it's an issue that came up often during the comp plan discussions. There's a whole housing section, and there are certain things that were identified in the comp plan that the select board could do, the planning board could do to encourage housing. So maybe the thing is, you know, to take another look at that piece. We do have a state law that might be modified, and that's the piece I was referencing. And it's unclear to me at this moment, I kind of look at it more closely, but, you know, if, we need to do something like that. So there is that, but we could also take a look at the comp plan and see if there's anything in there that's right for any type of action. And the procedural issues that I mentioned, we had talked very briefly about the work that Eric had done on procedural issues. Put together a checklist and talked about process and so on. And we had looked at that, talked about it a bit, but I think that some of that needs to be massaged into a document, or documents that are more readily usable in terms of procedural documents. That's what I'm thinking. And anything else that, you know, that comes to your mind, consider it, you know, something in the administrative realm that we should put on the list for some attention. When, and we don't want to meeting, obviously, but we could draft a plan for the time. Make some assignments like we did last time. Some drafting and some reviewing. And start. So any thoughts about that? I'll look at some dates, because like I said, I think it works much better for us to dedicate a meeting to that type of thing, like chat.
One of the things that I don't think we have to do anything retroactively. No data was talking about this at some time. Maybe you all talked about this in the last meeting, but I was thinking, you know, I was looking at some other towns and how they sort of manage files and things for public meetings, and we've done a much better job of posting our sort of items on the website, but it's still clunky to sort of find after a couple of weeks go by or after the meetings go by. There's no sort of way to find it, right? Because it just has the date, it doesn't have the content of the day. So I was thinking though, maybe we should try to modernize in some way or some sort of administrative record, which has like a list, right? Like,
Yeah.
this date we had this application, so that way we can, you know, if you get hit by a bus, we can go back and see. We can go back and see where, because I mean, sometimes it takes us a lot of front stuff. Sometimes applications doesn't be well, like last.
Well, you know, I
It's forbidden last.
can't find them any easier than you can. I mean,
I
you know,
understand,
it's a
I'm
process.
But I'm thinking that from a public perspective, I think in, yeah, by the name of
Yeah,
that.
you had done some work on that, as I recall.
But I feel like we need to kind of get it out
I
there.
have two different things that I started doing to try to help with that, but obviously, if you're just looking and you're not contacting me, and I'm not always here either, that makes it hard.
And if you get hit by a bus, we're really doing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna hit by a bus around here, you might, but.
I mean, Sheriff and Eric know where this stuff is, but basically I had started doing, and Chip's been doing it too, we're assigning agenda item numbers to applications, and then I am then tracking those in another Excel document. But that's something that we probably, I mean, I could definitely talk to Eric, or we could talk to Eric and see if that's something that I could update, you know, repost it every time I put up a new agenda, because that would have the most recent information. And it's just a short thing, like, this is the agenda item number, this is what application it was for, we'll say Forney or Tree, and this is the date of the meeting and what happened at that meeting, like a quick snapshot, whether it was found complete, it was incomplete, whatever. And so it's like that for all of them, and then that at least gives you the dates and stuff to go back to. But the other thing I did recently just started doing, I didn't do it on this agenda because the last one was incomplete, but like for the coming agenda for the public meeting, I'll have it, or hearing, I'll have it posted, or I'll have a link back to this agenda for tonight's meeting. It's not a huge help, but we can start, but we could probably start posting that Excel document that I've been using. I would, maybe on like the side menu or something.
This is exactly correct, something like that needs to happen, because I don't think we have to go back in time with. what we've
No.
done, but I think that
And honestly, I probably have a year.
modernizing
That's
this
what you're
is necessary, right? Because we don't keep a lot of paper files anymore.
Yeah, and we, you know, and that's one of the pieces that we had talked
Yeah.
about with Eric when you started doing the work that you did.
Yeah. And that was part of, that was
You
a
know,
big part of
coming up
the
with
drive
the
tonight.
file numbering system.
Make it easier to find the applications, not just the
Yeah.
property by parcel.
That's right.
You can find anything else.
And it's often important because we'll have that, every application is different. But sometimes there's circumstances where we make a decision about something, which would be helpful to know in terms of thought process at that point. Yeah. But I think that's something we should implement sooner or later.
Do you think, Angelica, that there would be a relatively simple way to create, suggesting an administrative record for each application? So it wouldn't be linked necessarily to the meetings. It would be linked to the application.
Right.
So all the documents and the actions that were taken on a particular application would
Right. And
be
when
retrievable from the, from a single location. How cumbersome do you think that would be?
I think we really have that, it's just a matter of accessing it. I mean, if you look, like at tonight's meeting, whatever, there's a whole list of everything that was submitted for this application. That exists in cyberspace or something like that.
as far as like our agenda packet,
Exactly, well, yeah, it's all.
That's not
Yeah.
what she's talking about.
that's what I've been linking back to.
Yeah, but, we get public comment, or we
Yeah.
get the decisions, the minutes, everything associated with this application in one spot, rather than others.
I mean, I
You
think
got,
if
you
we
got the
just,
video of them all too.
Well, it's fine, but it's probably, your comment is live, when it's all together. Because that's the most active part, that's what other towns
They do, but it's not all together, it's disparate all over the place, it's the links that, you're working on and everything, that makes it look like it's in a common place, and I think that was part of Eric's plan in Google Docs or whatever.
yeah, because I did talk to him about adding something on our website last year, the year before. To
It's all
present
there.
about
It's
adding
not-
it like individually, but the way that it's set up, we can't have that there, the way that, I guess, I don't totally, know all the details, but from what I understand, we can't really add it on there like that, in that way. So, I mean, like I said, I could post that document that I use. Or, I don't know, something, I mean, I think like you said with the new Google Doc stuff, at least we'll be able to put it, I think, together on our shared workspaces at that time, but.
we've done this before with certain applications. Where there's a lot of, like the tar application.
Mhm.
Right. We
Yeah.
collected all the materials for that application. Put them on the spot. That's what we,
And it's
all
stayed on the
I think-
website.
Forever, yeah,
But
I
that's
just
what
don't
we
know
do
if
for
it
all
was the
applications.
capacity, but I can ask again,
and
or
they're,
see what else, see what options we have. So far, what we-
Well, if you, maybe, we could start with what you've already done and see how that looks and, how useful that might be.
And I can send it out to the board before I ever post it or worry about that or anything, that way you guys can all see what I'm working with, and then maybe if you want me to add something to it, we could do that too. So I could change the table to include like, when was it approved, or was it NOD done, or, whatever, or is it 7 or whatever.
Let's start with that, and, and if you have some opportunity to check in with Eric again, let him know that we were talking about this notice.
Sorry.
Yay.
Here. Sorry. You're good.
And it's also, we have, like, that time, we have everything, every meeting, every minutes, all the documents, everything on sites. So historically.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, I assume everyone would make these comments, you're not just thinking about board members, I mean, they're members of the public.
Well, yeah, for sure,
Maybe.
and that's where I'm like,
And
that's
these
the thing.
things as well.
Absolutely, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the purpose of this.
And I mean, you know, when you look at the administrative proceedings, licensing and so forth, on the state level, where my experience is, I mean, that's what you do. I mean, there is a record and everything is in, all the documents, documentation, all the actions and meetings. Retrievable from a single location.
Just thinking back, so show and tell chat. Was able to put something up on the screen. I can't even remember now what it was exactly we put up there. But you know, it struck me as, yeah, there probably is a lot of applicability to this technology going forward.
Yeah, kind of like the whole shared workspace thing, I mean, that's when I was like, oh, yeah, everything could go in there, but that, like you said, would still just be staff members of the board. Even for that, so it would need to be like more on the website. Something,
Yeah, it's kind of accessible.
yeah,
I think we're probably, it's really great things that we've been able to do so far. Fantastic, but I also think, and I think it's important. And I think it's important to, just acknowledge that all of us are probably not as tech savvy. Well, I don't speak for everyone. All of us are probably not as tech savvy as a lot. And I think, but I think it's important to acknowledge that that is sort of the expectation of our society now, and there's a lot of things that we should at least endeavor to move the town in that direction. Some degree. It's a small, it may be an opportunity in the future, and I don't know, maybe we hire an intern, young representative or something. Do a little project with us or something like that. That would be a good use of funding or something. Something like that in the future.
Yeah, one of the things that is part of our reality is that there are resource limitations in the town office, and we bumped into that before. For certain things that may be possible, but given the resource limitations, we're just not able to go there either right now or ever, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
right.
And we've had some conversation about some of those things. So, yeah, let's see what we can do. We can start with what you've already done. Maybe you could have a conversation with Eric and just let him know that this issue was under some discussion, and there's interest in trying to do something like that, to make available. in a
Right.
certain way.
It's gotta be easy for us and the public.
Yeah,
I need help. We've got a subdivision which has to start again. I've been down there a few times. It strikes me, they probably need to take out a road permit, create a new road. I was wondering about, because I haven't been involved with other subdivision past, is there some kind of permitting or application they do for their infrastructure. Yeah, fee in it. I'm kind of lost there.
I'm not sure I know.
Just like Minnesota.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I'm talking about. Is going forward, they've been approved. It's like you approve a project, a house, something on a lake. You get the approval from the board, and they come to me for a building permit, plumbing permit, or whatever. Is there something like that for an overview, overall subdivision? I.e., are you putting in a new road? Logically, and that's what I plan on doing there, is asking them to come in for a road permit, which exists. Is there anything else for the infrastructure that subdivision contractors have to apply for? The individual houses don't have to, but I'm just asking general knowledge here, if anybody remembers back when other subdivisions have been created.
None of the roads that are walked out in the site plan.
Right, and creating a new road, they have to come for a road. We have that.
That's the only.
Well, they've got the retention ponds, they've got, certain things that they've got to install before they can start selling.
But we looked at all that
We did.
when the subdivision was here. and
Right.
it was discussed and approved, and then it was understood that they would need to get, whatever the building permits or, all of that from you.
Again, I'm coming back to, I've been here forever, but I understand once the subdivision's up for sale, they have to get permits for all the things individually. But before they can do that, they have to create a lot of things that they said they would when they came here. Roads is one, we have something. So you're gonna have to come in with their road, pay for the permit, and get one. I'm thinking about all the other things that come into play. They had quite an extensive drainage system that they're supposed to create. We just say go do it, or is there, should they have a permit for that? That is just say permit.
Yeah, there was. Thinking the. Stormwater permit by rule of the state level.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Most of the drainage connected to the road, and they have that. Tension pond,
You don't have to.
that's all already approved by us.
They put their plans in, with, with the systems
I guess,
on the plans, and there were, there were certain things they said they were going to do. One of the things they're obligated to do is to comply with the plans and any conditions on the license.
mhm,
And that would be, it's not a permit from you, but it's a compliance matter.
Right.
with you to make sure that they do what they said they were gonna do.
take for example, the household entrepreneurs. They went through quite a few meetings with that, and then the revisions and everything. But at the end of it, what they're told at the end of, all of them tell at the end of the meeting, don't forget to come in for the permit before you start building. So there is the approval here, which they've gone through and everything else, but to actually start doing construction and everything.
Building permit, and that comes from there.
But
That's
there's a
no
difference
different.
between the individual lots and the overall infrastructure that they're putting in line. I guess there's no.
So we need a road permit now.
But if there's a new road, then there's a permit for that.
How about if it was just one house, you could run it a power line?
Well, they come for a CMP thing, that's
So do they need that?
they
They
can
can run power on the road?
probably.
Or maybe-
But if you have permitting and you have to come in, it's like a check on what you were talking before, that everything that was laid out here as a requirement of doing the subdivision has a permit and it's looked over and there's certain, milestones there. If there isn't, that's fine.
Well,
That makes that makes my life a little bit easier maybe, but
Well, I don't know about that.
yeah, I don't
because-
either. That's why I'm
Because,
asking.
I mean, what it, I think what it is that the planning board approved a subdivision
Mhm.
and all the details that they presented to us
Mhm.
concerning, drainage and roads and, all that stuff was part of their plan,
Right,
and they are obligated to be consistent with the plan that was approved and all the information that was provided to us,
Mhm.
and you get to figure out whether or not they're complying. I mean,
And also, the ones, that they notify you before they undertake some activities. Inspect it.
Mhm.
That's the project.
yeah, and there's a lot of language in the ordinance about that, about,
I read that.
And I think we said to them they should be aware of the
Right.
notification requirements.
Right,
And ordinance, so you might have looked at them, up your own checklist, and then say to them. Start the road or-
Mhm.
Not necessarily a separate permit.
They did step one before step two. Right. Right.
You always have, you have the ultimate power of the cease and desist order. If they're not following the plan as we approved it.
And also it says here, upon completion of all improvements, a written certification signed by a professional engineer. Not qualified professional. That makes sense to the applicant.
and there were a number of those. There was something about the, was it year or something that required a certificate, an engineering certification. So there are a number of things in there.
But, yeah, they know that.
I thought so too.
But yeah, it's like application, make sure. Have the state of less. They seem pretty organized.
Nothing was gonna. Rock hasn't been moved.
Oh, it's good.
It's strange.
I didn't get a sense they were in a rush.
So I think, Chip, the bottom line is that, we wouldn't be involved in further permitting because we're.
Well, I know you would.
And so it's now a matter of primarily, it's compliance checks against all that stuff in the permit, in the ordinance.
Right.
Speaking of compliance, since I was wondering, two solar projects. The one, it's the first one, I can't remember what's the name of the farm.
Christians.
Not the first one, but there's a tenant on the farm. Can't remember the owner's name. Okay, well,
Doesn't matter.
the first one. Right. Thank you, Mr. Carter. At least somebody remembers what it's called.
I don't even think I was here.
Their buffer is sort of not buffering. Yeah,
You're not wrong.
well, it's dying. So they haven't paid much, they haven't paid any of those. Half of them dead, so I think it would be.
It's tough. They've mentioned it to them. They're falling apart. All the people we've talked to have left. I'll go over there. They had irrigation systems on there for most of it. Looked like they grown bit today. I don't know.
And has the other one,
And yeah, then the
There-
other
there-
one,
there
there
was-
was much more significant non-compliance than the other one, as you may recall.
and there are now 2 lonely little trees up the
And
top.
it doesn't seem like.
Is that it?
No, 6 or 8, but more up by the opening out there, so that should.
I saw 2.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, I remember you mentioned that as on something, but it seemed like they did very, very minimal things. Even for trying to address what I consider a significant non-compliance issue. Way more than they were supposed to. They didn't even put the array on the same orientation or anything. But it's, basically, they approved this and they put it in another space and they cut more of the trees down than they were supposed to. All that kind of stuff. So, and we addressed this with them, but. Yes.
Yes.
And, they more, and they acknowledged it, and including the poles all around. But the other things they never really acknowledged, to our knowledge, to my knowledge. So I was just wondering.
They took pictures of the trees they put in. It was probably about 10 trees. So I'll scan those in for you if you'd like to see them. That's not my biggest problem with that right now. Right now, I'm trying to figure out who to work with because people are all scattered. They're all kind of contractors. I had a call from someone saying that one of the people that were a member of the Norwich group who's going to be buying the back half of the property for living space. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, that got
I know.
put to bed early on because we said, no, you can't do that.
Right, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of compliance things I'm worried about. I'm worried about who the town saving any money that they promised. Where are all the local contractors that were supposed to work with them? I mean, there's a lot of things in there. This is the nature of the beast, and by the way, we have at least 2 large property owners that have called me about 2 new solar fields. So now we know all the different things we're gonna be throwing around with this. I mean, I'll send you pictures of trees, but beyond that,
Well, your comments are helpful, but I mean, at the end of the day, they were approved for the specific plan and specific requirements, and they did not construct that property in accordance with what they could. That's the law. Oh,
And just so everybody else knows the lay of the land here, Henry and I and Chip went up there. Henry had identified some concerns, and the 3 of us went up and walked the property and looked at it and identified that, as Henry just said, number 1, they had put the array in a different place than they had placed it on the plan. It was in a different location, and they had cut a lot more trees in a couple of locations than they had indicated on the plan. Well, the issue was that they needed to respond with how they were going to address this as a compliance matter. And they responded somehow. Well, they initially, and that was another problem, they had those lines were above ground, and they did do that. Chip notified them that they to put that on the ground, did ultimately. And they were supposed to plant some trees to make up for the trees that they cut that weren't supposed to be cut. And I look up there every time I drive by and I see 2 trees up at the top of the hill. And because it's wide open and the cutting that was approved would not have opened up that large area.
But I
Well,
guess,
if you think you think that they've been thumbing their nose at us, we should bring them back in. To try to justify what they've done and what they tell them what they need to do going forward. I personally, I'm not prejudging this one way or another, but if we don't want people thinking they could just change their projects after.
Well, exactly, and I mean, to me, this was not a come back and talk to the planning board issue, this was a compliance matter. That the code enforcement officer was dealing.
Yeah, but maybe, I understand, but maybe if they have to come to a meeting and there's several of us ask them questions, they understand, that we take it very seriously.
They were willing to do that. They were willing to do that. I don't know how far the compliance they were. I guess I'm gonna push back a little bit on you. They did not go outside the envelope that was approved. They built a lot less than they had initially were gonna build. And yes, it was a bit repositioned, but most of the things, the trees that were left by the neighbors over on Sylvester, that was favorable what they did. They opened up the corridor they could have opened up was even further, what we approved, and you can still go back there to see the lines, they could have gone further. I think we got as much as we could out of them. I worked really hard, stay in contact with them, they came back within a week and buried those lines, that was important. They offered to come into the meeting, but we decided that, whatever we did at that time was enough. If you want to bring up old loans, that's fine, we can do that, we can ask them in, you're not gonna get the same people that were doing this when they were there. They did not thumb their noses at, I will be very adamant, if they did not thumb, they came back and they worked with us, and they did what they could with what they had. I think it should stand as a lesson with these other ones that are coming up, if we're gonna allow the whole town to become solar arrays, that we might want to figure out what we do. And I can do so much.
Well,
I'm a department of one person.
Well, yeah. I'm not the one who, I'm not sure ultimately that I would care if the array was oriented somewhat differently. I do care, however, that they did it without checking with you or with any of us.
There was a management.
Given the soon-to-be expiration of a lot of these tax credits, I wonder how many new projects really will be built in the next couple of years. Or can they even commence? Don't they have to commence by the end of 2026 to?
Companies are pushing really hard now.
Federal
They're working on the farmers that can't pay their taxes.
Van Morrison.
Sorry. We've got farmers here, that own massive amounts of fields and land, and they can't afford their taxes.
And I
And they've got,
sympathize.
and I said, we all sympathize, but they have these people coming in telling them, you let us put a solar field on a quarter of your land, you can pay the taxes, and they're taking the bait. I'm just telling you, there's gonna be more coming.
well, to me, I'm with Peter here on his thought process as well. I mean, we can talk all day about philosophy of whether these things are good or bad. It's not this board's prerogative to have that discussion. But what is important is that had we, as a board, not pointed it out, they would have built something. They did build something that we didn't approve. And that is the reality. That application, and you say you would have been okay with it.
I like personal.
But I can tell you right, well, I'm not saying that wouldn't have been the conclusion, but I can tell you that I would not have agreed to cite the solar array where they live. Okay, they just did it. Okay, that's not appropriate, and that defeats the entire purpose of having a public process for this point. And to me, this is not something that's like, just forget about it. This is actually a significant precedent issue for this town. If you've got a developer, it doesn't matter if it's a house, if it was a house, there's many cases in state law that have basically, if there's a house and you build a house and you don't build a spec, there's examples where people have been forced to take down their houses, but it's Supreme Court of Maine. So I think that I think that these people need to understand that this is not something we can just do. I mean, especially in this case, they had a CID approval, there was townwide vote, they had all these things happen in order for them to do this very specific thing in this space, and they didn't do it. Okay? We would have, the board, I'm confident, we would have done it, we would have made a different decision about their array and that property and the CID. They wouldn't even need a CID or they'd help us with it. They wouldn't have used as much of the space or the land, or it would have looked very different. Right? So I guess I'm just saying that the review process would have been different had they just been more transparent about their plans. And I agree with you, it may have been, we could speculate all day long, but the fact is that they didn't do what was approved. And they may have been nice, of course they were.
They had to be nice.
They had no choice.
They lost employees, the employees took over, there was nobody in charge, yes, there was a big problem there.
Right, so the question is, what do we do? You know, just the town, I think we learn from it for sure, regardless, and if there's other applications come up, we need to be conscious as a community that there are, you know, we need to be somehow a little bit more paying attention to these things. Yeah, we got it, exactly, something like that, or there's a performance guarantee or something like that. I mean, I think, and we may consider that as part of our LUO commissions or something, if we want to go that route.
Hold it on, we hold until, yeah, I mean, that would be,
And so if we have a situation like this happen again, we cash it.
yep,
Jeff, on the last page of Article 10 on road standards, it talked about the inspection process. of the roads.
Anyway, I just brought it up because I've been very frustrated about it, and I just. I don't know what to do about it, to be honest with you, but I feel like they've just done. They haven't really done what they were asked to do, and they don't really seem to.
But at this point, you've told them that what they provided was okay. Is that right?
much.
So I think if that's the case, then we have to just move on, but I think there are some consequences here. So,
No question about that. I was up there with you, I saw what they did. We were in agreement that they did not consistent with. Weren't. Okay, next meeting is on the 28th, in the daycare facility.
That's a more,
They sent me another plan. That's same old, and I told them that. I have not heard from them in over a month now.
And that's fine. And that's fine. Walls and then.
So anything else besides the daycare?
Adjourned.
Ask.
so that would be, I'm going to assume.
Right.